All right, what are we having today in Kuma's kitchen? These are Japanese gyoza. Fantastic. These are, we usually have them if we go out and we have ramen. We always have gyoza on the side. Or if we go to a Chinese restaurant, we have like subuta, which is sweet and sour pork and a bunch of other dishes, but we always get some gyoza. And usually what you do is you get gyoza comes, if it's ichininmai, one person, that's 6 gyoza. 2 people in front of 2 people is 12. So I've got about 14 here. So I guess I got 2 and a little bit people here. Anyways, these are fried on one side and then the top gets just steamed. So you get this crispiness and then a softness and it's just delicious inside. There are 4 different ways that gyoza is cooked. One is this way. This is the fried gyoza. It's actually fried and steamed, which is the way we usually eat it. Unless you order special something differently. That is the way you're going to eat gyoza here in Japan. The other one is sui gyoza, where they're boiled in water. Those are quite good. They're very soft and delicious. There is the mushi gyoza, or steamed gyoza, and that is just steamed only. I've never actually had that. I think it's more in China. I don't think I've ever seen them here in Japan. And then age gyoza, which is deep fried gyoza. That's pretty good too. They get really crispy all around. Anyways, let's get one of these. What we do is have a little bit of a dipping sauce here, which is kind of a mixture of soy sauce, vinegar, and a special oil called ryu oil. So I'm going to just dip a little bit in there. I hope this isn't too hot because I haven't left the frying pan that long ago. Absolutely perfect. Oh, yes. That's good. All right. Let's go in the kitchen and make some. Now remember this, you do have to allow yourself a lot of time. All right, the making of the wrapper itself. We're making the wrapper from scratch today. And I've got this fantastic new kit that was given to me by some people who have an Amazon store, and they sent me one of these. And you can actually get one. I'll put in the description a link to where you get it. Very reasonable price and really makes making gyoza so much easier, the crimping especially. But I actually made this time, I made the wrappers from scratch, use their cutter, and then use their crimper. But you could also do that with gyoza wrappers that you buy from the store and then use that crimper. It's going to save you so much time and hassle. It's unbelievable. So I'll show you how I use that here in the kitchen. So let's go in there now and make some of these. First thing you're going to do is make the gyoza wrappers. Now you can buy these, I say, in the store. However, it's kind of cool to make your own. So we're going to do that today. And it's pretty easy because all you got here is we got 2/3 of a cup of flour, 1/4 cup of water. I have a little bit more water on the side in case it needs more because you never know how thirsty your flour is. Every flour is a little bit different. So it's a 1/4 cup of water right now. 1/2 tablespoon of sesame seed oil. Now you can use other oils, but the sesame seed oil, that just gives it a distinctive flavor. So do try to get some of that. Easy enough to get, Asian markets, things like that, or the Asian market section of your supermarket. And then over here, we've just got a little pinch of salt. So we're going to grab a bowl. I'll throw the flour in there. The bowl is probably a lot bigger than I need, but hey, it's going to make it easy to mix, isn't it? Put the salt in with the flour. And just going to kind of mix that around in there a bit first. Then I want to get that oil in there. So drizzle it around and start mixing that into the flour. And then I'm not going to add all the water in at once. I'm just going to start adding some in as I stir. So let's get some into the center there. Stir that in a little bit more. Just keep working around. What I want is I want this to come together into a nice dough. So I'm not adding all of it because, like I say, all flours are different. And if you get one that doesn't need the full 1/4 cup of water, then you don't want to be adding it all in at once, otherwise you're going to have to add more flour. This looks like it's probably going to take the whole quarter cup. Smelling good. That's that sesame oil. Fantastic stuff. I love the smell of sesame oil. When I'm walking down the street and I smell that, I look around, there's some Chinese food being cooked around here. We have a lot of Chinese restaurants around, so you smell sesame oil a lot. All right, looks like it's going to take exactly that quarter cup. All right, now I'm going to use my hands, bring it together into a ball. Just kind of work it until I can work that last little bit of dry flour into there. That's looking pretty good, actually. I use just a little drizzle, just a little tiny bit extra water this time. So I'm just going to just very carefully, I don't get too much in there. All right, that's it. That has definitely brought it together. Okay. So now, you see we're forming a ball. All right, just kind of bring that around to form that into a nice little ball. What we're going to do now is going to wrap this and let it rest for a while. About 30 minutes, half an hour at the minimum. You can leave it longer. I've got a lot of time today. I'm starting a little early today. So I'm going to probably leave it for about 45 minutes or so. Depends. All right. I'm just going to take a little bit of aluminum foil and wrap that in that so it doesn't dry out. That's it. Let that rest for at least 30 minutes. More is okay too. Yeah. Now, my mom used to always warn me, don't eat raw dough, you'll get worms. Well, I've eaten raw dough all my life. I've never got worms. All right, see you back here half an hour or so. So this has been sitting here for about 3/4 of an hour. And what I'm going to do now is just going to gently unwrap it. Oops. Try not to tear the tin foil because I want to use it again on the... We got to let this rest one more time. So what I'm going to do now, bring this out. Toward a little bit. Okay. What I want to do now is knead this. I'm just going to knead it. I want to knead it until it's nice and smooth. So kind of work it around, roll it, squish it. It's kind of a therapeutic, this too. It feels good to do this. So I just kind of roll it around, look at that. And it's ready to start to smooth out a little bit. And keep doing that until it's nice and smooth. All right, that is looking pretty smooth. Look at that. Beautiful. Flatten that down a bit like that. I'm going to rewrap it. We want to let it rest because we've got the gluten all stirred up right now. We want to let that gluten rest or it's going to be hard to roll out. So wrap it up again, wrap it well so it doesn't dry out. We'll let that sit for another 30 minutes or more. Probably might even go about an hour because it's still a bit early. I don't want to cook my gyoza too early. All right, see you back here in a while. Now, while that the dough for the wrappers is resting, let it sit there. I'm gonna make the filling itself. So for the filling, well, across the back here, first of all, I've got 8 ounces or 230 grams of ground pork. This time I'm using pork. Usually, for a lot of things, I use a pork beef mixture. This time, straight out pork. We got that real pork flavor in there. Here I've got 1.5 cups of minced cabbage. So about a quarter of a small head of cabbage. I've minced it up, small pieces. And then over here, I've got 1/2 cup of minced green onion. Now, usually in Japan, when we make gyoza, we use something called nira. And I don't think you can get that in other countries. It's kind of like Japanese chives in a way, but it's different again. You can use chives if you can't, obviously you probably can't get near I don't know. I think you might get it in China, a couple places like that, but I don't think you can get that easily overseas. So green onion works really good too. Now I just chop up some green onion, mince it up, small, finely chopped. That's perfect. Then across the front here, I've got 2 cloves of garlic crushed, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 tablespoon of that sesame oil again, and in here 1 tablespoon of sake. Now, it doesn't have to be anything fancy. I use some of this here. This is about 1 cup. This is the kind of stuff that you buy real cheap. You see people getting these in a convenience store and then standing out in the street and sucking back some of this, like after work or something like that, anything like that. It's not bad, but it's nothing special. To me, it's just a cooking sake. It's not a drinking sake as far as I'm concerned. Now, something about sake too. First of all, it is pronounced sake. Okay? Not sake. So sake. However, in Japan, we don't call this sake. Sake is used for all alcohols. All alcohol is sake. This is Nihon Shu, which means Japanese alcohol or Japanese drink. All right. So Nihon Shu, 1 tablespoon. All right. So now what I'm going to do is just mix this all together. So grab a big bowl, toss that ground pork in there. Sure we get all that. Okay. Going to toss in the cabbage. Going to toss in the green onion. Start mixing that around a bit. Oh, that's going to be nice. Just toss in that garlic. Let's get the salt in there. Just kind of chopping, lifting, start mixing it all together. So I get all distributed at this point. That's looking like gyoza already. All right, now let's add in the liquids. So just kind of drizzle that oil across there. And drizzle the sake. And start mixing again. Now we got a little liquid in there. It starts getting where it easily comes together. See? You kind of smear it around a bit and it pushes it all together. Doesn't have to be perfect. We're not making meatballs. This is just going to be stuck inside those wrappers afterwards. So that's looking pretty good right there. You can see that? All right, it's all holding together nicely. All mixed in. Okay, so I made this a little bit ahead of time. What you can do is you can make this a bit ahead of time and then just cover it with some wrap, put it in the fridge, and it'll be ready when you're ready to make your gyoza. I like to make this a bit ahead of time because, then I can time my gyoza cooking. It doesn't take long to cook. We're going to be cooking it in this fry pan. It doesn't take long. All right, so that's ready to go. This is just about rested. Be back in a bit. All right, so that's been resting for about an hour or so now, actually, which I say anything over 30 minutes is great. What I want to do now is we're going to roll it out. So I want to just very lightly dust the counter with some flour. So not very much, just kind of like that. So we just got a skiff of flour on there. Don't need any more than that. And then bring our wrapper dough out here. Look at that, it's nice and relaxed now. It's all happy. Squish it out a bit. I'm going to just put a little bit of flour on top there, just so the rolling pin doesn't stick. And then I'm going to start rolling. Now I want to roll this out really thin, so just keep working in all directions. Now what I want to get to is I want to get this down to about 1 millimeter, super thin. Now you see what's going to happen is it's going to start bouncing back a bit. It's going to start, not being happy about being stretched. The gluten starts acting up. Well, I'll start to stick a little bit here. So, I'm going to roll it back a bit. Get it off there. flour that just a wee bit more. Yeah, very lightly. Yeah, let's turn it upside down this time. Now the other thing is, because the gluten's starting to act up a bit, relax it. Just let it relax. This cannot be rushed. This is why a lot of times we buy the wrappers, because this is probably the hardest part of the whole process of making gyoza, is waiting. But when you make your own wrapper, it's pretty satisfying. All right, let that rest for just a minute. We're getting there. We're close to 1 millimeter, so a little bit more to go. See, had a little bit of rest. Now it's going to stretch out more. Let's see, make sure we're not sticking. We're doing pretty good. All right. Just going to dust that just a wee bit more. Down there. Dust that a bit. And keep going. That's getting super thin. That's the way you want it. Really thin wrappers. All right, that is looking like we are there. We're at 1 millimeter. All right, so for those of you who don't speak metric, that's about 1/16 of an inch. Now we've got our cutter, and what I'm going to do is going to go around and I want to cut circles. Lots and lots, as many as I can get. Well, this one's not perfect, but still it's going to work. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 baker's dozen. All right. So usually I say for 2 people, ninin mai, that'd be 12. A lot of times the gyozas are a bit bigger when we go ninin mai, but I'm going for, I like the small gyoza, and that's it. Oh, you just taste the gluten in there. It's chewy. All right, you could roll this together, make a little bit more. Let's put that aside for right now because I want to get going. You want to work pretty quick with this. You don't want this to dry out too much. So now we just if it pulls together, just stretch it a little bit so it fits nicely on the mold here. Then push that down in there, and then I'm going to bring in. Let's get these guys off to one side here. I'm going to bring in my bowl that we created for the filling. Put that off to one side. Grab a spoon. Toss a bunch of filling in there. Nice spoonful like that. And a little bit more. Just so. Basically you want it rounding up about as much as it rounded down. And then, now not everybody does this, but I like to do this. I want to make sure it sticks well. So I take a little bit of water and just quickly give a brush around the edge here. We always do this when we hand make these. I think it's going to work good with this little maker here too. So now, well, that might be a bit too much. Okay. This is my first time using these. Usually I do these by hand. So about like that is going to be good. All right. We don't want it popping out. And then squish and pull apart. And look at that. There is my first gyoza made in the gyoza press. A little bit messy that first one, but that's okay. We'll try another one. We'll get better at it. All right. Okay. Just a little stretch. Stick that on there. Put some filling in. Push that down. I'll keep it more in the center so I don't get it on those edges. And then I take the water, go around. Oops, what are you doing there? All right, go around, wet that a little bit so it'll stick well. It's like any pastry. You wet it a little bit and it sticks to itself nicely. And then squish. Well, this is working great. This is so much easier than doing it by hand. All right, so I'm going to keep making those. I'll be back. All right, that's my first time actually making the wrappers. I've always bought them. But still, this crimper, fantastic. So much easier, so much quicker crimping these things. However, I would make twice as much of the dough, so double that recipe, because there's half of that filling left, which I'm just going to fry up and we're going to eat like that. I don't have the time to make another batch of wrapper, but still, look, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. That's good enough. All right, that'll do. So, going to take that. Now, what I want to do is put about a tablespoon of sesame oil in here. And then, I'm going to bring that up to medium heat. Now, I'm using a pan here that's got a bit of heft to it. We want that heat to spread out evenly so they all get browned nicely. And it also has to have a lid because the last little bit, we're going to steam these guys. So one side gets fried, and then to finish it off, you steam them. This is the way you make perfect gyoza. So let's just spread that oil around so it's even. The minute that comes up to heat, some fragrance, in go the gyoza. All right, that's up to heat. Let's get the gyoza in there. Just kind of set them all across here. Oh, that sounds good. Starting to sizzle already. What we want to do is we want to fry them in here until we browned that one side. A nice browning. Usually about 4 to 5 minutes. So, just gotta let those cook away for about 4 to 5 minutes. Gotta keep an eye on them and make sure they're getting nicely browned and kind of crispy on that bottom side. So we'll be back. All right, so these have been sizzling away there, sounding pretty good. Let's flip one over here. Oh, look at that. You can see that on there, yeah. Nice and crispy. Beautiful, that's what we want. In the middle ones, they're getting quite brown, so it's ready to go. All right, whoops, no, we want the brown side down. Now, what I've got here is about 3 tablespoons of water. I'm gonna add that in, and right away put the lid on. That's gonna do is steam them and finish cooking the whole gyoza and make that top nice and soft, the bottom crispy. Mwah. So we're gonna let that steam for about 3 to 4 minutes. Then you're gonna take the lid off and let it evaporate. So I'll be back when that's finished cooking. All right, that's been steaming away for about 4 minutes. So I'm gonna take the lid off. Whoa, and just cook it a little bit longer, but actually it looks like most of our water is already evaporated, so fantastic. We'll turn that heat off. What we want to do now is we want to serve them up, and you want to serve them up with the fried side up. So you get this, look at this, you get this nice browning. Beautiful. Share them around there. Oh, those are nice looking gyoza. There's only one thing I regret. I don't have a beer here. Gyoza and beer just go together so wonderfully. Especially you get yourself like a Asahi Super Dry, one of the best Japanese beers in my opinion. Everybody has their own opinion as to which ones they like. I like the Asahi Super Dry. And that is a beautifully cooked plate of gyoza. So they've fried nicely on the bottom. This top's got steamed. Going to be delicious. What we need now is a dipping sauce. So to make our dipping sauce, you can get gyoza dipping sauce, usually just buy it in a bottle, but you can make it yourself. 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, 2 tablespoons of vinegar, Give that a little mix. And then this is Ryu. Now Ryu is a bit of a chili sauce, and comes in a bottle like this. Could be in other bottles too, but that's the one that I get. You probably get this again, like I say, in an Asian market or Asian area of a supermarket. Ryu, it's a Chinese chili sauce, and you can put anywhere between 1 and 2 teaspoons of it in here. It's kind of, you'll see it kind of bubbles up to the top, gives you this little slick, like a little oil slick on there. And I'm only going to put in 1 teaspoon because Rieko doesn't like hers too spicy. I'd go for the 2. All right. Do I dare to eat one of these right now because they're going to be so hot? No, I don't think so. I'm what we call nekojita, cat tongue, which means I can't eat hot things. And I did burn my mouth when we made the recipe last week. And that was absolutely painful. I'm still recovering from that. So, but let's have a look at one of these. Look at that. And then all you do is you dip it like this and with a really small gyoza, you can do that with just one. You put it in your mouth. We call them 1-bite gyoza. This is a more regular sized gyoza. So with this, you'd bite half of it off and don't re-dip. That's kind of rude. I don't know if usually people have their own little plate of this sauce, and then it's okay. All right, so there you go. Gyoza and a dipping sauce. If you like this recipe, stick around. We got way many more, and they're all unique, original Kevin Riley Kuma's Kitchen's recipes, and they're here on YouTube. And also, make sure you subscribe because there's a new recipe coming out every Monday, and you don't want to miss those. And if you're not yet a patron of Kuma's Kitchen, well, please consider becoming one, because for little $3 a month, you could be supporting the creation of all these recipes that we do here. And also, you get all the cool stuff that the patrons get inside. Now, also, consider getting yourself. I'm really impressed with that little kit. This is the first time I tried it, and it worked great. Look at everything crimped together nicely. It stayed together nicely. None of the gyoza fell apart. That's a good thing. And it's a lot easier than doing it by hand. I'll put the link in the description. Anyways, now, go. Make yourself some gyoza. Have it with some beer. And make cooking fun again in Kuma's Kitchen.